So, should we buy or sell Matson? First off, read this disclaimer carefully. And do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. So I have a theme called mixed shipping. Matson, they are in the container ships business, 46% from the low, but we have seen a minus 30% pullback. So here is the company's website, very rather nice company, company website, and maybe a bit too quick here on the slides, but all in all, nice and informative. Yeah, so let's just jump right into the charts. So this is one of those stocks that went on a huge move, absolutely massive move. But it's important to be aware that throughout this move, there's been some ferocious pullbacks, like this pullback here as an example, minus 24%. And all of a sudden here as well, we do get, a sizable 19% pullback. So yeah, because you could look at the chart like this and think that, oh, this would be very easy to just go long, and make a bunch of money. But, when you lose, south of 20% from a gain, it's tough. That is when you start to learn the merits of using stops. But to be perfectly clear, this one has been very much dominated by the bulls. The reason why it popped up on my radar is because when we go here to the daily data points, we do see that the red 200-day moving average is in play. Support-ish, but back here it was more clean support. So this is where it was very safe to buy that moving average. It still is a buyable moving average. The only thing I don't like here is this. The very fact that we closed below 200 daily moving average here on the 11th of April is because there were more sellers than buyers. So that's the only thing that kind of nags me a bit here, but yes, I do think that technically speaking, this is support and bullish. So let's look at these other indicators. So looking at RSI and the PPOs, we are a bit in a messy territory. Back to the daily data points. And so accumulation distribution is rather weak. So very much dominated by sellers. So that's a bit troubling. Looking at RSI, we are emerging from some oversold levels, also on the PPOs. So the key part of the bullish thesis would be 200 DMA support. And of course, when I make these videos, I filter beforehand, so I obviously know what is going to come up here. And there's tons and tons of securities that will be excluded from being turned into a video simply because they are too noisy. There's no clean edge anywhere. In terms of the technicals here, I don't like that accumulation distribution is still weak. We are, however, at key support. I will give the bulls the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think they have earned anything more than, let me give them 2. I think that is max here. The big issue is that they recently closed below. That is not what they should do. When we look at the seasonality, the average over the last 5, 7, and 10 years is definitively bullish. So that's nice. To the right, to the left, over the last 5 years. Then we do see here that the current month is mediocre. May only closes higher 25% of the time, and we usually have a small loss. June, July, August, September, obviously very much stronger. Over the last 10 years, the current month is the worst. May is mediocre. Then we see that, very strong later into the year. Then we look at all the data we get last 11 years. We do see that the coming seasonality is more bullish. So let's actually measure here a bit here to the right, because it was a bit messy. So if, as an example, we look here at May. So from the 2nd of May all the way here to the end of May, the 31st of May here. Yeah. So yeah, it is a bit messy, as you can see. It's a bit up and down. Given that the seasonality for the current month is very much mediocre, and May was also not that good, I think I will give the bulls just a 1 here. Yeah, and that is a generous one. I do give them a 1 also because the coming months are rather strong. Well, to be more precise, they get stronger. So if I was a bear, I might still consider shorting, but the issue is that there is the risk of a bunch of bulls on the fence jumping off the fence and getting in, to participate in that seasonality on the horizon. When we look at the fundamentals, that's when it gets very bullish. So number 2 buy, SAX rank, A value, A growth, but F momentum. Industry rank, top 29%, transportation services, 3.6 billion in market cap and 1.4-ish percent dividend. Yeah, what are the insiders doing? Oh, that's not what you want to see. They have been selling en masse, one buy here, then a bunch of sells. Ooh, a bunch of sells here in 2022. That's not bullish. Let's look at the consensus estimates. Only 2 are covering the stock, 50% price target to the upside. Here is the most recent price target, $131. And that is significantly above the current stock price. Okay, so SAX definitely feeling the love for Matson, but the insiders, and they know most about the company, they are dumping shares. And then the price targets, they were a bit bullish, so I think I will give this one to the bulls, but I can't really give the bulls more than I think I will give the bulls, I think I will give them a 1 actually. Here are some correlations. So 92% positive with the S&P 500, 88% with IIT, which is the transportation ETF, then 84% with crude oil. Daily data points, minus 26% SPY, 12% with IIT, 77% here with the boat ETF, and then we have 7-ish positive with the dollar index. No, not the dollar index, but with crude oil. Okay. I usually have the dollar index here, but I think I'm going to mix it up a bit going forward because, yeah, there's more interesting things that can be found. I think one could make a strong case that the boat ETF is going to have a very substantial impact on this stock, so I think I will actually look at that one. So let's go here to the weekly data points, boats. So it's the Sonic Shares Global Shipping ETF. Looking at the weekly data points, we have dropped down here to a very key support level. The purple 20-week moving average. So that's interesting. Looking at the dailies, we are pretty darn close here to this blue 100-day moving average. Was a bounce level here. Here we did break it. So here is the relationship between Matson and the boat global shipping ETF. Very erratic relationship, so let's actually go here to the daily data points. Because then it becomes a bit easier to analyze. So it looks a bit time cycle-ish. So it it seems like we have some smaller time cycles. These have been relatively reliable. It does actually suggest that there could be a bit more downside here. So the rising phase here starts in May. And that's something we did see with Matson in terms of the seasonality, is that the real bullish seasonality is still a bit off, well, it gets more and more bullish towards the summer and later into the summer. We don't get any seasonality data here. That is simply because we don't have enough data on both. Let's look at now IIT, the transportation ETF, against the S&P 500, because then we get more data such that we can look at seasonality. So here are weekly data points, and we do have a monstrous rounding top pattern that is bearish. So that's something to take into account. We have also rallied a bit here, so the place where the bears will come in to short, these kinds of pairs, that is definitively after a rally. We probably have not had, well, this rally is not that big, so it's not like a screaming short for the bears, but yeah, just bear in mind how the bears will look at this chart and also how the bulls will look at it as well. Because it's very important to know what both of the major participants in the market are doing. You do actually have a third team, that is the option traders that sit there and collect premium. They think that they are not taking a directional bet, but very often that is wrong. The vast majority of option trades are certainly going to be affected by the direction of the underlying security. And those option strategies that are truly, pure collecting income with no directional risk whatsoever, they are also quite capital inefficient. You just need a bunch of legs all over the place. Yeah. Okay, so here we do see the seasonality over the last 10, 7, and 5 years. Yeah, it is actually rather bearish here for the shipping and broadly, of course, the transportation services. So the IIT gives you, diversified exposure to transportation, but one part of that, ETF is also, sea-based transportation. Something that I did find rather interesting here, that is when we looked at the IIT, it is at technical support. That is interesting, but the seasonality was not that good. And also looking at the other things, I think I will give this one just slightly to the bears with a -1. So we do get a very low number here, 0.8. So the data is more favorable to bullish trades than bearish. A very key part of a bullish thesis here is definitively the 200 daily moving average support. If it holds, buyers come in, potentially even also to be a part of the coming seasonality for the stock, then that would be good. The problem, as we did see, is that the 200 daily moving average, it was very strong, but it's been more mediocre as of late as a technical level. So definitively, it's a bit of a hard stop at that moving average. If it turns into resistance, then the bears could get rather aggressive. So yeah, whatever you do, of course, you use stops, be market neutral, and go to DiamondArm.com to get a bunch of information that is very important.